Hey everyone, welcome to my channel, Books, Scripts, and Purrs. My name's Leslie, and today we're going to be discussing my romance book pick for the month of July that I buddy read with Nkechi from City Girl Writer. Just to tell you a little bit about the book, it's Vampires of El Norte by Isabella Cañas, and it's about, I'll read the synopsis. It's as a daughter of a rancher in 1840s Mexico, Nena knows a thing or two about monsters. Her home has long been threatened by tensions with Anglo settlers from the north, but something more sinister lurks near the ranch at night, something that drains men of their blood and leaves them for dead. Believing Nena dead, Néstor has been on the run from his grief ever since, moving from ranch to ranch, working as a vaquero, but no amount of drink can dispel the night terrors of sharp teeth. No woman can erase his childhood sweetheart from his mind. When the United States invades Mexico in 1846, the two are brought abruptly together on the road to war. Nene, as a curandera, a healer striving to prove her worth to her father so that he does not marry her off to a stranger, and Nestor as a member of the auxiliary cavalry of ranchers and vaqueros. But the shock of their reunion and Nene's rage at Nestor for seemingly abandoning her long ago is quickly overshadowed by the appearance of a nightmare made flesh. And unless Nene and Nestor work together, their past and work together that work work through their past and face the future together, neither will survive to see the dawn. And so I'm going to bring on Nkechi. Hey, City Girl
Salutation.
Writer. Tell us a little bit about your channel.
So, hello, my name is Nkechi, they, she pronouns. My channel name is City Girl Writer. So, I just make booktube content, really. So, I have book review videos, I have reading vlogs, I have things called like video diaries, which are pretty much just vlogs. Different name, same way to go about it. And I do TBRs. I also host reading sprints as well. So, if you're looking for a channel that does reading sprints, I got y'all. And yeah, I really love reading fantasy books. That's just my main genre, but I do like to dip my toes into like sci-fi and also horror. So anything speculative is pretty much my realm of preference, my comfort zone there. But every once in a while, I'll try to go outside of it, like read a mystery, a romance, literary fiction, nonfiction. I try to hop around in certain genres for the most part. But yeah, I think that's it. I don't know much. I don't know what else to really say about myself besides that.
That's funny. Thank you so much. I always really enjoy your sprints. I'm always I'm always there lurking. All right. So could you please give like a non-spoiler um thoughts about this book and also like your rating?
Okay, so the Vampires of El Norte by Isabel Cañas. I gave this book 4.5 stars. I think this is a very good historical horror as far as the time period because it takes place during the Mexican American War of 1846. This was where majority of the story takes place. And I really appreciate the way Isabel Cañas really focuses on that timeline and also adding the supernatural element regarding vampires as well in here. And yeah, the romance is solid enough. Again, when it comes to romance and we have a miss, maybe once in a blue moon hit kind of relationship right going on. So the romance took a while for me to get like really into it, but once I started to like settle in more on like the characters and the personalities, then it was a solid fun time. So hence 4.5, not like a 5 star. Because honestly, if the romance was a little bit stronger, this would have just been like a straight up 5 star read for me.
Yeah, I think I'm in agreement. Yeah, 4.5 for me. Um, and I had a difficult time kind of pinpointing like what those little elements were that like weren't like connecting for me. And I definitely think that was one of them. Like I think I wanted a little bit of a stronger romance. Um, and we do eventually get like there's a slow buildup of the supernatural. And I think I may have just wanted like a little bit more. Or maybe I pictured maybe I kind of went in with like an assumption about what was gonna happen in the book, and that didn't. But I'll talk about that in like the spoiler portion. So now that we have that, I'm putting up the spoiler chat banner so I won't forget. All right. I'm trying to think about where to start. I looked up the definition of like a gothic romance. And so gothic romance novels are a type of mystery that combines romance with horror and supernatural elements, often set in dark and gloomy settings. They often feature the following elements. So setting will be like a dilapidated countryside or like a haunted castle. The characters will be a Byronic hero, which is basically just like I had to look it up because I don't know the terms. So it's just like the type of like arrogant type hero that usually has like a level of like we have a level of like distrust in. Um and then what else was it? The plot is supposed to be suspenseful and mysterious, and that focuses on the romantic aspect. Do you think, with all that said, that this book fits under like gothic romance?
Mm, it fits most of it, but not with the setting. The setting is a lot more Western, and that's where I'm just
Yeah.
like, eh. When I think of gothic, I don't think Western.
Yeah,
Honestly, it's more like a supernatural Western romance than really gothic.
yeah. I thought so. It's yeah. I kind of feel like this standard is kind of more like the European standard, and it doesn't really fit
Mm.
this, if that makes any sense. Like, there are like some of those elements, but also I didn't necessarily think that what was it?
Néstor, Nena.
Sure. Yeah, I say his name all the time. I sort of blank. I didn't necessarily think he was someone, or actually for both characters, what I liked about the book is that it's not really about one character saving the other. It feels like more equal, like they're helping each other out. So I didn't think that really fit either. But I think that's also what I enjoy about the book. Yeah.
This is interesting too because for any of y'all watching who do not know, Isabel Cañas, this is her second novel. Her debut novel, The Hacienda, that was a strictly historical gothic horror. I think there might have been a romance element novel. That one was a lot more gothic than like something like Vampires of All Norte. This book, I think, because it came out last year. This thing, I think, it was more marketed towards like regarding vampires. It was a Western, and it was taking place during the Mexican-American War of 1846, if I'm remembering correctly. And the Hacienda, I think it was more marketed towards like, oh, this is a gothic book. So it's not like Isabel Cañas doesn't have anything gothic related in this one. I definitely felt it, but it's just that this was less so gothic, and the Hacienda is like, we are definitely following the conventions of a gothic novel and stuff like that. It's like there's definitely supernatural stuff going on like with the Hacienda. This one's like more in your face kind of supernatural. That's kind of like more just horror than just like a gothic horror, if that makes sense.
Yeah. What did you think about the construction of the vampires?
I expected the construction of vampires because it was something, because like I've been wanting to read something like Vampires of Norte for a while. It's just that I kind of like hesitated for a little bit because last year there were people who read this and were very disappointed in the element of the vampires. So I did expect the vampires to not be the most
Main focus.
obvious way to go about it. And also, since I read the book and now I've seen the title, it makes more sense to me why it's called Vampires of El Norte, because these vampires are like more monstrous, and they're like a lot more like more monster creature like, and less so, oh, these are like used to be humans kind of vampires. And I like the way that how the vampires were utilized as a like a weapon from the Yankees to pretty much kill the Mexicans that already live there, all the vaqueros and their the peons and anyone who lives in these ranchos. They just kill all of them, take the land. It's like, hey, we took all the land. There's no one here. It's our land now.
Yeah, I really like that element of I guess, meshing history with that, because I felt like, oh, they're kind of using the vampires in a way like a weapon of mass destruction in a way.
Yeah.
And I wasn't expecting that. I thought that was really clever. And I I felt like I wasn't sure. Um some like, yes, the vampires seem very like monstrous, but then at like towards the end when um Nena helps to release some of the vampires, there's like a level of consciousness there, and I wasn't really sure like where the line is between them being more aware and conscious versus monstrous. What did you think about that?
I think I went regarding with whatever what Nena was saying, like how like they are wild animals. They pretty much are wild animals, and like with a wild animal, they have their own sense of consciousness that a wild animal understands, but not in the same way as a human. So that's where the disconnect comes in. The thing that makes it super a lot more, even more interesting, is the fact that Nena survived a vampire attack, so she has that bite, and then she has this like kind of interesting, this weird psychic link between them that she can like in a way command them. And I think that's a very interesting element. And I think that element was definitely added to help with the climax, because I mean, there's no other reason why she would have that kind of psychic link besides to help with the climax, because there's no other utility for it. Because why else would she even want to be around them at all? Because beforehand, she just has like this weird, kind of like a spidey sense in you in a way. Kind of like, yeah, it's kind of like a spidey sense with a spider
Yeah.
bite. The only difference is you don't turn into a vampire, because that's what you would think it will happen. But no. She don't turn into a vampire. She's very much human, mortal, all the things. She's just able to sense the presence of them. She can always tell, like, oh, yeah, one of them is watching me for sure. But then when she starts to utilize the fact that she could control them, then that's where she can really use that power. Because after that, anytime she sees because especially towards the very, very end, like in the epilogue kind of thing, when she saw like one more, like another one at the very, very end, it recognized her, and it seems like it was one of the ones that she freed to tell them to not come back or to harm her. So, yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. Yeah, calling it a spidey sense is like right on the nose. Okay, so this is what I thought. I guess maybe I like my books a bit darker. um, I thought that maybe by the end, one of them wouldn't survive. Whether it be Nena or Néstor. Did you think that, or were you happy with how they concluded?
I don't know. As far as what I expected the ending, I did know that this was tagged and marketed as romance. So if we're going in the genre convention of the romance, that there's a happily ever after of some sort, then I figure like, okay, well then I guess they're gonna survive. Sure. I guess. I mean, that's where you want to go. All right. I don't know. I think it would have been a little bit more interesting, but then again, it would feel like kind of all for naught as far as, well, maybe not quite all for naught. Again, this book really is trying to go with the genre conventions of a romance. So, like, if it did end up with the whole one of them dying kind of thing, it would be a lot more like a what the heck kind of thing. But if it was more like a love story kind of way, kind of romance, then I would expect one of them to at least die. Maybe both of them dying. I don't know. Maybe they both could have died. That still could have ended up being a romance, right? It'd be tragic, but hey, they end up being together and dead. But as far as like the ending, I was like, oh, okay, sure. Like, I do appreciate the sense of Nena and Néstor like standing up to like her parents, because there's a big class difference between the two of them. I mean, we have Nena, who's literally the daughter of a what would you call, what was she? Yeah, she's a daughter of a rancher, and then Néstor is a vaquero, who pretty much, based on my understanding, because I'm not really familiar with all these terminologies and like how it all works, especially during this time period, but it sounds like vaqueros, they work with ranchers with horses and cattle and stuff. And it's like saying like if you're a vaquero, you have a peon.
Like he's a laborer.
Huh?
Like he's a laborer.
Yeah, like he's pretty much like the laborer for a rancher. And for him, it's like, no, I don't have any one particular person who's in charge of me. I go around and kind of thing. So that's where a lot of like the strife between Néstor and Nena is, like this class difference, especially regarding how they even separated in the first place. Because we literally start off with the story with them being like teenagers, and then something happens. Not something like Nena literally gets attacked, and yeah, they get separated. But I don't know the ending and like regarding like the parents. I felt like I don't know, maybe it could have been a little bit more of a bigger deal. But I do know with the epilogue, there was definitely like time in between before they can even be cordial with each other, like in more speaking terms. But I don't know. I kind of felt like emotionally it felt deflated a little bit regarding the strife between the parents and like Nena and Néstor personally.
All right, I had a question about. I'll just go there. So early on, when they end up being separated, when Néstor takes off,
Right.
and assumes that she died, he's haunted by her. Do you think that was just like his conscience, or do you think that was more of a supernatural element because she had been bit by a vampire?
I saw it more as a conscious thing because I think it was more like conscious, like he was grieving her, but also felt guilty as well because especially at that time, like again, it was very high stress level kind of thing, and he was really deep in his feelings too. So he felt like he didn't do enough for her. So I think that's where the guilt come in, like he couldn't save her or prevent the attack or something. And then he had the fear regarding her father and like her mother claiming that she is dead because to the naked eye she really looked dead. She was not moving, she was barely breathing, nothing. So it seemed more on this. I think it's more conscious for him, and he's just guilt and grieving. Maybe there could have been something supernatural to it, but I don't know. It didn't read like that was the intention. But then again, is there a right or wrong answer to this? Nope. It's really based on an interpretation. So if there's something supernatural, Isabel Kanyas didn't say, no, that's not incorrect. So both answers are correct. I'm just leaning more towards his guilt, conscious, and grief, and less so supernatural.
Yeah, that makes more sense. I guess because initially, what you're saying makes sense up to until like it just took me a while to get there because when I was reading it, I wasn't sure where the story was going
right
at that time, and I was just wondering if it was and also I wasn't sure, or maybe it's more of what I wanted to happen. I wanted her to be a vampire.
Well, yeah.
So I thought that would be cool, and that maybe that would be like the spiritual haunting of maybe like her human soul reaching out to him. But that didn't happen, which is also fine. I just think when I was reading it, the story kind of allowed for our imaginations to kind of go wild before that's like really determined, and I really like that.
Yeah, but you're definitely right though. This book really could have gone in the direction that Nena was a vampire. She could have been a vampire herself, but it did not go in that direction, which maybe that's where some people, I think that's probably where the main reason why people were disappointed with this book when it came out last year, is that they thought that Nena would turn into a vampire, because that's what we're used to with vampire stories, people turning into these monsters. But since the monsters here, I mean, we don't even know where these vampires come from. That's the thing. The book never tells you where they come from. So if you expect that people are being turned into a vampire, because that's what part of me I believed a little bit, is that especially with the vampires that were attacking these ranches, I thought that these were people that were turned into vampires. I don't know how or by what exactly, but they were turned into these creatures. But it just seems like maybe this is just some sort of a natural order of things. Like these are just creatures that have existed, and that they're just wild animals, and that the Yankees just found a way to control them so that they can have them targeted and all that stuff, I guess. Which I'm like, okay, that's definitely a new way to go about vampires. Because sometimes when you read a vampire story, especially so many of them back to back, you're just kind of like, okay, sure, all right, I got it. Can we move on? Can we have something else? And hey, this is something else. If you're looking for a vampire story that's different with vampires, this is your story for you.
Yeah, I agree. It definitely felt original, and that's really hard to do with the vampire
Hmm.
genre. That's like it's really yeah, it's she's an incredible writer. I really like the way that she wrote. Um, I wanted to circle back to what you're saying about the parents. Or how about we'll start with the brother. Oh, what's the brother's name? For
Felix.
Felix. Yes, thank you. I knew it was something with an F. um, I, I like the dynamic. I'll start here. I like the dynamic of him being a calm presence. I don't know. Let me know what you think about what the author was trying to say, because
Hmm.
I feel like Nena is someone because she's in like this patriarchal society. She can't just she doesn't have the agency to do whatever she wants. So she has to kind of like push and navigate like how to push for what she wants. But it seems like Felix is like the opposite, even though he is the one that has uh power being a male. He's more like relaxed and accepting what's expected of him. Like when he they say that he marries someone, he's like, yeah, what is it? I'm all about the land. Like I don't care who I'm married to, which I thought it was wild. So, but then also the way that they're willing to listen to him, but not Nena, was definitely like um such a conflict. But it's just I don't know how to explain it. Like it's not just that he's a male, it's that he's so passive that the parents will listen to him. Does that make sense? I thought that was kind of a wild dynamic.
I think there was, I can't remember what page because I didn't really annotate this while reading it. I didn't feel so compelled to annotate it, but there was a point definitely early on where we're more introduced to Felix, is that I think Nina was comparing like how that, well, first of all, there is definitely a gender difference here, especially not just with time period, but also place, and even nowadays, yeah. So it's very much patriarchal, and how like I think, yeah, Felix is the oldest one. So he is first child, he's firstborn, and he's the son. So there is a certain level of seniority when it comes to like the children and even cousins and anyone living in that ranch, that Felix is literally the one with the voice. And I think it makes sense for the parents to listen to him because, well, again, he's the firstborn son. So if you're firstborn, but you're the son, that's you're already up there.
Yeah.
And as far as like temperament, it's very interesting as well because Nena is a lot more. I want to say she's a firecracker now, but she's very passionate as far as what she wants. And have a woman who's passionate about what she wants and wants to demand that, that's not flying by. Especially with how much her mother holds her like with a short leash. I like, yeah, she has to go with other means to find a way to get her voice to be heard. So of course you go to your older brother who's the firstborn and who your parents prefer that certain, of course, thank you, thumbs up, sort of temperament. Like if you have that temperament but you're also the firstborn son, it's like, oh yeah, of course, but then again, it depends more on the parents and their where they're feeling, because even her mother does the same thing regarding her father as well. Like she's able to convince her father of things as well, just like what Nena's doing with like her brother, which I've noted. I think that was mentioned, I think later on in the story, because there was a point in the story. Oh yeah, that's right. It was when Nena and Néstor coming, they were going through like the desert to get back home after the failed squadron battle against the Yankees, and with them, yeah, against the Yankees, along with the Mexican army, and they were on the way home, and they were seen together, and then that just blew. It's like the boiling point for like for her mother, because again, trying to be respectable, you're the daughter of a rancher, we need to make sure you're compatible so that you can get married to like this other guy over there who has a bigger rancho, to the point that it looks like an hacienda kind of thing, and I'm just like, dang.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure.
Yes, that she didn't even ask for.
Yeah, and it seems like I do like that the author is writing about the mother and father putting this pressure. Like it's not just from like the male figure, it's also like the mother reinforcing it.
Mm-hmm.
Um I feel like we don't get like enough of those conversations in literature. So like I appreciated it. Um, but I also was like taken aback. Like I didn't realize her mom was gonna go that hard when she comes back. And it's like her mom waited. She's like held on to those feelings and thoughts and until her father appeared and then was like, look what your daughter is up to.
I guess because for her, even though because like I think it's also the same thing with going with like her mother. It's like, hey, she might be like lady of the house, but again, it's her husband who runs the rancho because it's his. So even if she wanted to really bash Nena, she has to do it in the presence of a man who has more power than her. So for her, she wields it to do her own bidding like that, and then Nena tries to do it with her brother, but well, at the end, it's, I mean, not like the end, but like again, when she comes back with Néstor, even her brother couldn't even like try to defend her there, which really was sucky. I was like, dang, you're not even going to try to defend her. Like, that's the thing. And maybe that's also why her parents lean more towards with Felix than her, because he, in the parents' eyes, understands what's at stake in a way. Like he understands that you need to have a certain face. And maybe that's why he's just like chill on whatever, because for him, he wants to run the rancho whenever his father passes. So he will do whatever it takes to just appease like anyone. Like he doesn't even have to go against it, because for him, it doesn't matter. He don't care like if he's marrying a woman he's never met or doesn't even love, because for him, it doesn't matter. I understand what's at stake here, in his eyes. Nena, she's like, no, I want to have my own agency. I want to be able to control my own destiny here. I want to marry who I actually love. And of course, for a woman like that, and at that time, that's too much. So I think that's also another reason why the parents not prefer, but they listen to Felix, is because he understands the values and he's firstborn son.
Yeah, no, I think you connected that better than I did. I think I was just so focused on him being so lax. I'm like, it doesn't matter who it is. You're just like, need to be married. But yeah, that makes more sense because you're putting it into context. So Nena, she wants to be she's like in training to be a curandera. And we see how she has to gradually gain the trust of the people. Even if she grew up with them, she still has to gain their trust being young versus someone that's elderly that's been doing it for so long. How did you think about how that was laid out between the characters?
I think like I can kind of see it as far as like wanting someone who has a lot more experience, because for Nena, I mean, I'm not totally sure in the, was it 9 years from like I'm not totally sure like from the 9 years that Nena and Néstor were like apart and stuff, and like that upbringing, but like it's kind of like, let's see, how do I explain it? It's kind of like having this exact same doctor. You have this one doctor that's been doing such a good time for a long time, but like the doctor's getting older. So, you need someone new. But it's also like, you might be new, but I'm so used to like this older doctor. Sure, like they're older and they can only do, they're getting older. Things, they can't do it as much or as long as they used to, especially regarding the weather as well. Because I think that was something that was mentioned in the story, that something about the weather and how it's hurting like Abuela's joints or something. I think there was something like that. And then how like for the one guy, what was his name? Ignacio, is that his name? I think it's Ignacio.
Yeah.
Like the first man she actually really healed was Susto. I can understand both the doubt and the frustration, because you've never seen this person perform this kind of healing before, but you've seen someone else do it. And also you've been seeing this person that you love that seems dead for like a while. So it's like, if you can't cure him and the person that I know who can't be here, I'm afraid and having doubt. But then also I understand for Nena for being frustrated, because it's like, well, you need an opportunity to at least prove yourself. And if no one at least gives you a chance, it's like, well, how can I get better and actually show you and prove to you that I actually can't do it if you don't give me a chance? So I'm glad though at least it worked out. So at least Nena could have some, like, not just experience, but also proof of experience under her belt. Because especially with a healer, and especially during these times, it makes sense. It's like you have to trust the person healing you. You know, like you don't want someone, just some rando, especially if they're just young, and it's just some rando just trying to be here acting a fool or having to try to act as if they have a good time when like this is another person's life.
Yeah. I'm gonna say hello real quick because Margaret popped in, but she's probably just watching the beginning part. Margaret said, "Waiting for the stationery shop to open. We'll watch the non-spoiler parts when I get home." She asked me. I think I popped into her channel yesterday. That's all I wanted. I made sure there was like a non-spoiler part at the beginning. So yes, nice to see that she popped in. Gosh, what was my other thing I was gonna say? You know what I like that they did, and I think you may have already touched upon it, but I liked how there was this gradual like peppering in and connection between the Yankees and vampires that I really liked, even though they weren't literally the vampires, they were figuratively. And I thought that was done like so well. And they went on to the author also references the Yankees as vultures. I thought that was really cool how they just kind of like come in and steal the land, and I just thought that was really cool. What did you think about it?
I think it makes pretty cool sense, especially since I had like the physical copy because I hybrid read this. I hybrid read it. So I had a physical, but I was also listening to the audiobook. So the audiobook didn't include it, but there is an author's note if you get the physical copy. And there is like an epigraph at the start of the author's note talking about like the I think it's in reference to like the Yankees, but they were calling them like flocks of vampires in the guise of men. And then how like that quote that she read, I forgot how old she said she was when she read that one. Or was it? Oh wait, no, it was in the summer of 2021. That's what it was. So it's like a few years ago, like how she came across that book and like her mother's dining room title. And it says this one reference, finally one actual reference before. Like this reference predates Carmilla and Dracula. And it's from a whole nother country. And it said vampires.
That's
So
wild.
that's the thing that actually really shocked me. I was like, wait, there was references to vampires even before the canonical vampire literature and is another part of the world. Like,
Yeah.
I can see how that could inspire someone to write a book like that based on that alone. But I think it's really, really cool. And it makes a lot of sense too, especially regarding the acquisition of land during a war like that does, and especially with bloodshed. I think it makes sense that you use vampires as a way of massive destruction, but also use it as a way of bleeding dry a land. Like you're bleeding the people of their own land. So for people who even survived, like Néstor and his family, like his father died, like his died. No, his father was murdered. Him and his family, they were able to at least escape, but you can only escape one place and another for so long. You're just bleeding dry of your homeland.
Yeah, no, you said that really well. While you're talking, I went and looked at page 59. I don't remember who says it. It says, "We need all the help we can get to keep these vampires from sucking our land dry." Don Antonio added, "We need every man in good health." And so I just thought that was really cool. There's so many little like nuggets of that's wild. I'm so glad you told me that as far as the note, and how they were, because they had to survive such like monstrous acts. And so I like that even in histories, you're telling me that's so cool that they made this connection with monsters because that's what was going on. That's really cool. I like that. Oh my gosh. I think I was so wrapped up when you were saying, I was trying to remember what else. What was the other thing? And then like on page 55, it's very short. It says, all her life, Yankees circled overhead like vultures. First, they tore off pieces of the edges of her world. And I just like that. She just has the author has a way of saying something in a really dramatic way that that I really enjoy as far as the description that really kind of like sucked me in. And something that I liked about the connection between Nena and Néstor is that they referenced each other really early on. I think like within the first 2 chapters, because it's like toggling between their point of views. They reference each other as home. And then even in when they reconnect later on, I don't necessarily think they say it to each other, but once again in their thoughts they're referencing each other as home again. And I really love that. I think that's like really beautiful. But I also like that because although it's a romance and we're exploring like this historical time and the horrors of it, like Néstor at some point mentions like I'm totally gonna butcher it, something about like who are we without our homes, because he's had to um, survive a traumatic experience, right, of losing his home.
Yeah.
I like that even though he's questioning that, he also found his home, but in a person. I thought that was really beautiful.
Maybe that's also, now you're actually saying that, it does remind me of how, like, he did move away from his original home to La Casa. What was the name of their ranch? Was
It
it?
was
I know it
nice.
was Al Norte. It was something Al Norte.
Yeah.
La Villa, La Villa, del Norte. Was that what it was called? I forgot. Doesn't matter. I don't know.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, their ranch. So yeah, like Nena's ranch and stuff, and how he ran. It's kind of like he ran from, because again, like his original home, like with his own family, his biological family, they ran because of a similar attack that happened to Nena. We're going like these vampire like creatures. That's why he left from that home to Al Norte, and then when Nena was attacked by a vampire, he's as you said, he considered as his home. He pretty much did that again. He left his home, and for Nena, especially since she considered him her home as well, he abandoned her, and that's why for her she was so gung ho mad at him, because it's like, dude, I really felt like we were each other's homes. So you ran away from you ran away from me. You abandoned me. You abandoned your home.
Yeah.
Pretty much. But like, I understand for Néstor why he would do that, because again, if he really did stay, there will be some consequences. Not gonna lie, there will be consequences. Like, her dad was looking at him and said, "Boy," and I'm like, that's a sure sign of running away for sure. Because I'm like, I wouldn't want to wait for that. So I personally don't blame him for that. And there was a point where Nena does say, like, a more rational woman would understand that. More rational woman would be willing to forgive him. But I ain't rational. Okay, that's not me. And I'm like, well, I'm glad that you were aware of that. I was going to say that. I'm glad you were aware. Because for me, I understand that. But also, if you consider someone your home like that, if you're that close to someone and they just ran and you had no explanation, especially since the fact that she has no memory of, like, in between the attack of getting that silver, the Spanish silver, and then to waking up in her bed with her abuela. No one told her what happened. No one said anything about Néstor. No one. Felix didn't say nothing. Her mama didn't say nothing. Her father didn't say nothing. Her sister, her cousins, no one. Not even abuela. No one mentioned anything at all. But then again, abuela didn't even know why he would ran anyways, because he didn't say anything to them either. But still, no one said anything about Néstor. Nothing. It's like, oh, this happened? Cool. You survived it? Cool. Brush it under the rug. We don't talk about it. And I'm like, well, there you go. No wonder she's even more upset, because there was no explanation. No one told her anything. No one asked anything.
Yeah.
The poor guy just ran because he knew that y'all were gonna blame him for what happened to her, even if she didn't end up surviving. But they would still blame him, and they would not even let him see her. Like, either way, they would have not been seeing each other much. They would probably sneak, but still, I think her mother really would, like, hold her on a very, very short leash if that were to happen. So maybe it was just best for Néstor to leave, and also to gain some perspective in life.
Yeah. Oh my God. And speaking, you know what? Hold on. Let's talk about the perspective he got in life. He was hold on. He he made the rounds with the ladies.
Yeah.
And when he comes back and is one of like basically like one of the bodyguards for Nena when they travel. And what is one of that gossipy type gentleman? I forgot his name. He ends up telling he's like talking about all the stories about Néstor and how he got around with the women.
Oh, Beto. Yeah, Beto.
Beto. Oh my God, Beto. And he said it with Nena right there. I would have been pissed.
The thing is, though, Beto didn't know what Nena meant to Néstor because Néstor didn't want to talk about Nena. He refuses to talk about his feelings. So, like, it's not Beto's fault. That's why I didn't blame Beto. I was like, Néstor, that's your fault for not being honest to your homie over here, telling him that this girl here, you two had something going on here. I mean, y'all were like friends, but like y'all had something deeper going on here. That's your fault for not making that clear to him, because for him, he's like, oh, that's just, a thing, it's just, he's kind of like that. That was kind of like his thing. But also, that's all like, Beto really knew much about Néstor because he didn't want to talk about himself in his past like that. So
I was surprised because then it's like, I don't know what kind of campfires people are having, but I'm not around going like, my buddy over here is getting around.
Oh gosh.
That just like took me back. I felt so bad for Nena at that moment. I was just like, oh, no, he doesn't care about any of them. He only wants you.
But of course, he wouldn't really have made it saying it out loud because, like Beto says, he's terrible with his feelings. You could trust him with getting the Mustang, like breaking the Mustang, but you cannot trust him to talk about his feelings. And I'm like, yep, that sounds like a man, all right. I'm like, yeah, of course you don't talk about your feelings. Yeah, that's why we're here.
Oh my God. I'm gonna circle back to, there's like a passage when Nena sees Néstor for the first time, and she says she was caught by surprise. She felt the earth tilt under her feet. The skies turned themselves inside out and shook shattered starlight over his head, illuminating him like a saint. And I'm like, I love her writing.
Look, Isabel Cañas, she know how to write. You're here for some lush, descriptive, vivid, lyrical writing. Vampires of Norte. That's the book for you.
Yeah.
And also the Hacienda as well, if you're looking more gothic, but this one works too.
I haven't read Hacienda yet, but now that I've read this, I'm interested.
Yeah, I definitely am too. Where's the book? Okay. Also, I got as a book of the month. I had to get the two. But yeah, the Hacienda. I did try to read it last year, but then again, I was not in the mood for horror, so I had to put it down. But it's a softie now. I'm definitely going to go back to the Hacienda now. Because after this, yes. And also, I'm definitely going to get the audiobook because honestly, hybrid reading this was also a good time.
Yeah, it was. I also hybrid read it because just, I don't know. For me, whenever I'm on a crunch time or if I'm having a hard time focusing, it just helps doing the dual. It like helps me focus. I don't know if you feel that way, but yeah, I like doing the dual audio and the visual.
I mean, I definitely retain a lot more information because since I'm not familiar with like monqueros and curanderas, and I was like, I'm not familiar with any of these like ranch terminology, so like I need to like see it with my eyeballs, but also hear it so I know how to pronounce it too. So I'm not like not understanding how to pronounce nothing, but yeah, definitely recommend an hybrid reading because again, also the writing is so just again vivid as well and lyrical, so like it also helped to also see those words on page versus hearing it, because there's some writing styles that like work well, at least to me, via audio, and there's ones that like don't really work as well with me unless I have a physical copy or at least some way to read with my eyeballs, whether physically or digitally. I need to be able to see the words with my eyes.
Yeah. I'm just looking at it. Or like I'm gonna go back. Like I found the passage where Néstor says her skin smelled like sunshine, like her, like home. I was like, oh, that's so sweet. All right, so this all at the end leads to like this heightened experience of like the supernatural. how do you think that did you like how that was handled?
Like the climax?
Yeah, the climax at the end.
I think for the most part, yes. I think it was annoying because before the climax, we had like the third act breakup scene, which
Yeah.
it definitely hurt for me at least. It hurt a little bit because I was just like, dang. But also I understand because like again, like it's just the entire way that the scene played out with Néstor hoping that Nena would stand up to like against her father, but like it felt unfair to put that kind of expectation on her because it's very obvious that Nena is like to some extent afraid of her father. Like he has these tempers, he gets these angry bursts that everyone around him does not want to deal with. So, and he knows this. He knew this. It's just that at that point in time, he was willing to just um go against it right on. But I'm like, yeah, but like that's just you, bruh. I don't know. I don't know if you want to assume that with Nena, and he didn't quite. I don't think he planned that part out well. So like the third act breakup happening before the climax was kind of irritating. It was annoying, but then Néstor came back after leaving. He came right on back, and I do like the way that how Nena took like she definitely took like the most agency in that particular moment because at that point she know what was going on. She can figure out a way to control them, and she had ways to like at least with assault and stuff to be able to protect her family and stuff, and to show that hey, I am your best asset here at home than if you were to marry off and go somewhere else. And she was at least able to prove it in a bigger way than she ever would have thought. So I do like at least that way of how it all went down. If the third act breakup didn't happen so soon, maybe it could have been like 10 out of 10. But since that third act breakup, I'm like, 9.
Yeah, you know what's interesting? I'm so glad you brought that up. I almost skipped over that. Um, yeah, that it was frustrating because Nestor just repeated what he already did before,
Yep.
which was leave. And it's like I still think I'm still feeling a little bit conflicted about it because actually no, I think actually I'm in agreement with you because ultimately her Nina's father threatens him, right?
Yeah. With like, if you come back here again, I will put a bullet through your head, basically.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
dang.
Yeah. I'm like, I can't forget that part. Yeah, but it sucks because just that the rhythm of the history repeating itself, um, just really like, yeah, that was very tragic and frustrating. And, there's two other people there. That's his grandma and Nena, and they're just two women and they can't really do anything to defend Nestor or act in any way. So yeah, but I do like that Nina forgives him because also she's coherent now. It's not like she became unconscious and almost died like the first time. She was able to really like see what happened and that this is the reasoning behind why he took off. But I'm glad he came back. That would have been so sad. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I also feel like I don't know why I like such dark storytelling. I like that they end up together, but I also like your idea that you brought up earlier, like if they had both died. I think that's kind of like more badass if they would have just been because we hear so much about folklore and the story. We hear about La Llorona. We hear about what was the other one? I wrote them down. I think like really early on. The El Cucoa, which is like a boogeyman, and
Mm-hmm.
then La Lechuza, which is a shape-shifting woman into an owl. I thought that would be kind of cool with all that knowledge of folklore for them to die and then just like walk the earth and like haunt that place. But yeah, I did like, I guess you could say, yeah, the climax of like the supernatural and them trying to defend themselves. I thought that was really cool. I thought that was a great way also for Nina to show her abilities and also maybe garner more respect from the community about as far as like her abilities
Right.
as a curandera. I thought that was kind of like a positive consequence. Um, what did you okay, how did you feel about that in this story, Nena is the one that proposes to Néstor?
I actually kind of like it because I know when it comes to proposals, we're used to it has more like a gendered kind of expectation,
Mhm.
but I think it makes more sense for Nena to do it because of the class differences that they have.
Mm.
Like she's in a at least in this or not like class. Well, is it a class thing? I'm not sure if it's a class or just power dynamic kind of
A
thing.
little bit of both.
I
I
think
think
it's
that's a great point to bring up. Yeah.
yeah, because that's another thing too is that a lot of the strife, even like between the two of them now at this point, like sure, there's like the resentment, there's the abandonment, the grief, the some sort of like atonement or like redemption between the two of them. But there's also this strife regarding class, but also gender as well. Like for Nena, she says like, "Wow, you're free. You get to like leave the ranch and just go wherever you want to go because you're a man." But then for Néstor, he's saying it's like, "Well, you have a lot more power than you think because you were the daughter of a rancho. You actually have some at least influence. You might not be able to move around, but you have influence." But then like for her though, she's like, "Sure, maybe influence, but again, I'm a woman, so like I need the power of a man. It's even to utilize that influence, like her mother did." Regarding her
Yeah.
father. Every time that her mother wants something to really be done, she has to have that concurred with her husband. That's the only way her mother really gets things what she wants. Besides, like, yeah, because even if, like, even the whole thing we're going like getting married to like this one French person, like that's why her father and Nena make this deal that she goes with with these vaqueros and him and all these people to go to meet up with the Mexican army and you could be the healer is so that if everything fails or you betray my trust or whatever, you have to appease your mother and get married.
Yeah.
So again, that's what her mom wanted, but he's doing it because like she's influencing her father to do it, but also that's also what he wants because it fits with his values. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's like there is this very strong class/power thing that I really appreciate. Isabel Kanya's really putting a focus here that there is things that Néstor and Nena can do based on like gender and class, but there's also some weaknesses, some hindrances because of that. And that puts a strife to their romance of why they couldn't really be together just right away, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Until
I feel like
Nena
you're talking all the
decides,
things.
yeah, until Nena decides, like in the end, like she's gonna put her foot down, be like, nope, I'm going to marry this man. If you are kicking him out, I'm leaving too. So if you want us both, if you want me to be here, he gotta stay here, and I'm marrying him. Is what it is. Don't care.
No, yeah, I think sorry to interrupt you. Yeah, I think you hit all the things. Yeah, I think class issue is like a big part of it. I like that you pointed that out. Um, yeah, I just genuinely like that moment. It doesn't necessarily have to happen that way, but I just appreciated it because of the story that they're telling between these two characters. You know, they met, or not that they met, they were like besties and, you know, really recognized that they loved each other since they were 13 years old, which is wild. And I like that. I kind of feel like it would take that kind of a long-term friendship um, to even have a chance to make this happen with all those class divides. Um, I mean, her parents still say, you know, no initially for so long, but I think just in terms of writing a something that we could believe in as a reader, um, to actually have like a chance to actually work out during this time period, it would have to be set up that way. So I really like those elements of um, I want to say like friendship to lovers. Were there any other romantic tropes that you noticed?
Hmm.
I just realized I didn't. It's a romance, and we didn't even discuss that. Um,
Let's see. Definitely a friends to lovers for like childhood friends to lovers because they've known each other for like a long time,
yeah,
even as kids. So there's that childhood friends to lovers.
I kind of felt like there was a little bit of forced proximity
Yep.
once he moved back.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be like kind of like her bodyguard.
Right. And since we have the issue regarding abandonment and like thinking that Nena died, I feel like there's also like a slow burn as well.
Yeah.
Let's
Definitely.
see. Childhood friends, forced proximity, slow burn.
Do you think second chance is could be applicable or no?
I think second chance romances apply to them being in some sort of romantic relationship prior and having a second chance
Yeah.
of that, but it could be because again there is this abandonment element, and it was very hurtful on both sides. So it could be like a mixture of second chance romance, but like a childhood friends kind of thing. Maybe to some extent, there's like a second chance romance. It could be.
Yeah, just a teeny itty bitty bit. Yeah, that's all I recognize as far as like the romantic tropes. But that's also what I like about this book. Um, what I notice about some romances, not all, I've had a chance to read some really great ones too, is the type of romance I don't like is when they're so trope heavy that there's not really any plot points. They're actually using the tropes as a plot.
Hmm.
And then it's like so trope heavy that I'm just already recognizing what's going to happen. It kind of like takes me out of the reading experience. I don't really mind that in a, let's say if I'm watching a movie where I just don't want to use my brain, I'm all for it.
Right.
And I'm there for a laugh. But in terms of like actually reading a romance in a book, I don't really like the material to be trope heavy. And I like when, like right now we're discussing it, but it's not like it's woven into this to story in a way that we're enjoying the story. It enriches it, but it does not move the story along like the plot would.
Right. Like we like literally we were trying to talk about tropes and we're like, wait, what were the tropes? We didn't even notice it. That's when you know.
Yeah.
We had a good time.
Yeah, that's how I felt about it. Oh my gosh, the time went by so quickly. Um, any last thoughts before we close?
Maybe just like my thoughts on like the romance itself, I guess, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So, like you said, like like tropes, like for me, when it comes to romance, again, like I said, maybe probably like 1,000 times at this point, especially on my channel. Romance and I, we're such a miss relationship. Like very rarely does a romance really work for me. I don't know why, but it just is. And I'm realizing that the romances that really stick with me and I feel more inclined to give it a 5 star, they're not like a rom com. So when I think of people enjoying a romance, if it's not like it's not like a dark romance or paranormal romance, it's more like, especially if it's more in the contemporary romance space, it's more rom-commy, and I'm not much of a rom-com person. I'm starting to like realize it, but also accept the fact that anything that's like rom-com, not for me. Because that's where I see more of the tripification coming in. At least so far the ones I've read. Fantasy romance, because again, I am an avid fantasy reader, and I've been trying to see if fantasy romance to some extent might work. If it's more on the cozy side, I'm realizing cozy fantasy romances, nope, because that's where I get the same issues of contemporary romance, where it seems a lot more rom-commy, and I'm not looking for a rom-com.
Yeah.
When it comes to romance, though, the only way for it to really work for me is that, especially for me to really, really enjoy it, at least, is that it is more of a slow burn, because I need to see the actual buildup of y'all, of these two, of any particular characters, two or more, because also I like to read poly romances as well, of characters just having some sort of emotional connection so that I can understand why there's some sort of like a sexual attraction as well. Because romantic attraction, sexual attraction confuses me. Because if anyone is watching, I'm a race. I don't experience romantic or sexual attraction. So reading it in literature confuses the heck out of me. Like I'm like, I don't understand the existence. So you need to make it slow so I can catch up, because I'm slow. Like I can't understand. So I appreciate this book for doing it. Also, I appreciate the fact that the sexual content in this book is very much minimal, very much barely there, like a fade to black. I appreciate it personally.
No, yeah, I'm so glad you're saying all this. Because that's also some experience I've had on my reading journey of romance this year. has been a hit or miss. Um, and I just read a book. I don't know if you'd actually like it because it is explicit. It's Out on a Limb. That is the first romance that I read. I mean, I have read other ones where there is a friendship, but this is the first book where I felt like the friendship and the buildup of romance felt very much lived in and believable, if that makes any sense.
Right.
And yeah, there's something about the buildup of friendship as a foundation that really works for me more than anything else. And I don't know, I just think it makes the world more believable. I'm not into enemies to lovers, but that seems to be such a beloved trope within the romance community. And I just have such a difficult time with that. So yeah. So yeah, I love this book. Also, do you have anything coming up on your channel?
Well, I am currently participating in the Full Moon Readathon that's hosted by Jan Agaton. So I am I am vlogging that as well. So hopefully there'll be some, I mean, not hopefully. Well, actually, it is hopefully because I tend to just delete footage. So you shall see if these things come the light of day. But ideally is that there will be at least a couple vlogs for the Full Moon Readathon. And it'll be reading sprints as well. Literally next Saturday, actually, I'm hosting reading sprints.
Yeah.
And then I will be going on vacation with my family, so I'll be vlogging for that time as well.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, it's giving me some vlogs and stuff. But yeah, maybe a book review video. I don't know. I'm trying to get back into doing book review videos again.
Yeah,
So.
I really enjoy your vlogs. I love your sprints and your vlogs. I'm here for it. But I'm also here for the reviews because I just like having those discussions. So not every Wednesday, but I've allotted Wednesdays for my book reviews. So next week, Wednesday, I'll have my Womb City review up. So everyone look forward to that because it's a little bit all over the place. I
I
had a lot
mean,
of fun.
it's a kind of like a long sci-fi dystopian kind of novel. So, and there was a lot happening because I read the book in like February.
Yeah.
There was a lot
Yeah.
happening in the book.
Yeah.
So I can imagine the review being all over the place.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's hold up our books to end this session. Thank you everyone for being here. I appreciate you. And I'll see you later.